What is up, everyone? Thank you guys so much for watching. In this video, I really wanted to do a deep dive of Sarasota, so that's why it says A to Z guide. This will be pretty comprehensive, so we have analytics in here, and I try to peel back the layers on a rather vague part of the county and the area in a heavily resale beach type of market. So this is everything that's not your just easy suburb. So I hope you guys enjoy it. Please use the description box below to kind of hop around the video if you don't have time. This is kind of built more for as a tool than just kind of an entertaining video, you know. So hope you guys enjoy it. Please, if there's another area that we haven't done yet that you would like to see more about that's around the area, please leave a comment below, and let's get into today's video. All right, to be respectful of your time, the first thing I want to do is talk about what you're in for in this video itinerary-wise. So number one, we're going to talk is location. I'm going to talk about the macro of what this part of the area means to the state as a whole. I'm going to talk about what it means to the county, and we're going to separate the different areas and get real deep in there with a map. The second thing we're going to talk about is housing, where to live in Sarasota, Florida. I built another model that I'm going to give away for free to you guys after this video, but I'm going to break down the cost, I'm going to break down the areas versus each other, the type of housing, who lives in them, the demographics, and more. The third thing I'm going to talk about is what to do or things to do in Sarasota, Florida. I broke out some major notables and broke down a little further what's to come, and we're going to get a little deeper in there lifestyle-wise. The fourth thing I want to talk about is schools. So I'm going to go from daycare all the way through secondary education. We're going to talk about public versus private, and I'm going to pull up a map and I'm going to show you the different ratings. And lastly, the last thing I'm going to hit is economics, jobs, and business, anything else notable when it comes to this area. So let's get started. Okay, first up for this video, let's talk location. So I'm defining Sarasota in this context as the part of the city and the county that does not include the following areas in the greater county area. Does not include Osprey, Nokomis, Venice, Englewood, Northport, Lakewood Ranch, and the greater Bradenton area. So we're talking the meat of the city. Okay, now let's talk what Sarasota means from a macro sense to the state of Florida as a whole. In my opinion, one of the most underrated parts about this area is if you had to pick one spot to live in the entire state, this home base may be the best proximity and also the added benefit of an incredible history of hurricane damage. So Sarasota, the way it sits, give you a little bit more flavor here, is you're just 45 minutes to St. Petersburg there, you're just 60 miles up to the main Tampa downtown district there, just an hour to Fort Myers here, you're just an hour and a half further to Naples there, you're just about 3.5 to Miami here, you're just about 3 hours to West Palm here, and then even just about 4.5 hours up to Jacksonville there. So if you had to pick one spot to not lose, especially if you're transient like me, to not lose access to everything else the state has to offer, but have a very pleasant home base, I think Sarasota is a real high option. All right, now let's work our way to the micro view of what Sarasota means to the county as a whole. So the Sarasota main district here, the way you have it kind of separate is, I would say you have Sarasota's main district cuts right here, half a Longboat Key, it's above Osprey, it goes east, but it doesn't go northeast. And then what you have is, the way most people look at it is you have Sarasota Lakewood Ranch would be your northeast large suburb, right? That's where people are looking at living. You can go south, which would put in play Nokomis, Osprey, Venice, really cheap coastal proximity. Northport is then the eastern neighbor of Venice. And then you have basically north of downtown. So it's really north of downtown, south of downtown, east, northeast, and southeast of downtown. So it's all kind of flanking the downtown district, which is about right here, and it's pretty northern in town. So if you go above the airport and you get half a Longboat Key, it turns into Manatee County here. And then you have coastal Manatee County with the Riverwalk, and you have the Anna Maria Island beaches and the Holmes beaches, and then the the eastern version is then the Lakewood Ranch suburb. So that's kind of how Sarasota is broken up as pieces. And then we'll talk about the beaches more specifically here. But the city limits is the main meat of the area, because all the attractions in Sarasota are western, and then everything else is basically an offshoot of coming down or coming up or coming over to have access to that part of the city. Hey guys, really quick interruption on this video. I just wanted to say thank you so much for watching the Sarasota, Florida relocation guide. If you need anything from me at all, please reach out directly. Please make sure you subscribe if you're enjoying this video. Please make sure you like, and thank you guys so much. Let's hop back into the video. Okay, next up, a really important one. Let's talk about where to actually live in Sarasota, Florida. So I'm going to do this a couple different ways. So Sarasota this video specifically is going to be a little bit more complex as far as how to look at the housing areas. A Lakewood Ranch or master planned suburbs are easy, right? They're all connected, master planned. They have maps that are specific to the community. Sarasota is different, right? So let's hop over this map real quick. So as you can see here, I have plotted the major zip codes, which I'll get into a model here in a second. But what you have here, the way that I would separate the town, a lot of this is resale, a lot of it's mature, you have new construction peppered in, you have the beaches. If you're looking especially online, you're pretty much at the mercy of inventory, right? So that's a short-sighted approach to the market, because if it's not available now, you're not even looking at the area. And then if you drive through these random areas, they kind of look like more neighborhoods than communities. So unless you know the benefit to where it's at on a map proximity-wise, it doesn't really mean anything. So the way I would separate the town is basically you have downtown Sarasota right around here. And then I would go below that. So right, South Sarasota, and you have South Sarasota part that doesn't cross east of the interstate, right? So this would be your 11 under miles to the coast, but you're getting south right here, so parallel to Siesta Key. And then you have above downtown here. That doesn't get above the airport, and then you basically have coastal parts here you have the slivers of mainland. Sorry for the drawing here, but the slivers of the mainland that are west of the trail, right? So the closest piece of mainland that isn't on the beaches, because the beaches are barrier islands, and then you have all of Siesta Key and mid Longboat to Lido Key, and then you have some eastern kind of suburb, and then kind of Mayak out there. So that's the way to look at the town. I'm going to break down. This will give you a little context to the next model here. I'm going to break down the pricing. And all the additional context to this area next. And deeper dive if you're looking for that kind of option. So what I have here is I did this one a little different. So a lot of it's the same. So I have this is the number of sales. So this would be the MLS sold listings. This is the sold price average. I have price per square foot. I have the average square foot itself, average beds, average baths, year built, and average annual taxes. And that includes homestead if it's in there. That includes CDD if it's included in the taxes on MLS. And then there's toggles up here. These are buttons, right? So you can separate condominiums here. You can hold control and command. You can separate all these things, right? And you see how the model changes. It is live at all times. I bucketed prices here, so you can look at only buckets, right? Just to be respectful of your guys' time. Square footage and months sold. So I give you, this is a 6-month look back, because there was 5,000 sales in the Sarasota city limits for this discussion just in the last 6 months. So I don't want to completely blast you with information. Plus, past 6 months ago, I'm not sure it's even relevant to the current market. So versus doing communities here, because of how complex it is, there would be 5 trillion neighborhoods if we did that. So I did zip code area, right? So I have a key, I turn zip code into area, because if you don't know the zip codes by heart, which I don't even know them by heart, this will take a plot on a map with this model and bring the whole thing home. So here I have it sorted by the highest number of average sales, and you can see where these cluster in town. You can also get the averages, right? And I'll show you how to get median here in a second. So you can see South Sarasota is always very relevant. So going under downtown, staying coastal, right above Palmer Ranch. This part of Gulfgate, you'll see the name a lot. Gulfgate, Vamo. You can see the southern part right at the tip above Osprey, and then the northern part before you hit downtown are the 2 highest selling individual areas. And you can see the average prices aren't terrible, right? This is a lot of old blue collar, a lot of where I recommend people buy investment properties as well, because it's unbelievably close to the beach, but very affordable just because it's in this weird regime of the house flipping market and just people that have lived there forever, right? And then you start getting in a little bit of the sexier areas. So you see the price point of average 1.5, average 1.1. So west of the trail, Rosemary, Lido. So this is west of the trail, west of US 41, but above downtown. And Rosemary is in that northern area parallel to Lido Key. So a little bit above the bridge entrance there. And then you have Siesta Key itself, which 34242, the Siesta Key zip code, is all of the key. So the whole 8-mile end-to-end plus a little bit of the mainland. And then you have Sarasota Springs, Fruitville. So this would be your opposite of Gulfgate, right? I'm not going to go through all these, but just give you some gist. This would be the opposite of Gulfgate. So this is above downtown. So that's why I'm saying you flank downtown, south, north, and then it's east-west. So above downtown, but or parallel to downtown, but not east of the trail, right? And Sarasota Springs, some of it's under, some of it's over with Fruitville. Then DeSoto Lakes in the Meadows area, and you kind of get the point here, right? So that's kind of how the model works. These are how the areas work, and then it would be easier to look it up there. Now, if you want to go deeper, right? So again, you have the toggles here. So you can say, I only want to look at 1 million to 2 million, and you can guess where these will cluster, right? So this will take you to a short list. And the reason that this is useful, because if you click, I have a little note here, but if you click any one of these, right? Double click it, you have all the source data right here if you inclined to go that crazy, right? And then you can shoot down here and you can say, I want to know the median cost. And this is if you want to get fancy. I want to know the median cost of this area. So, you have a median here of just the section I was looking at, right? So you get the idea, right? So you have the average on the other side, the median here. Plus you have literally, you have literally every single MLS number here. So you have all of this in the MLS numbers. You can look those up. You can see the Zillow history. You can see these exact houses, where they are on the key, where they are in the area, right? So if you want to go in deep, right, you can probably use this tool to get a sense of, now, not in real time, right, but to get a sense of, if this happened in the last 6 months, the likelihood that you're going to be in the same range in the next 6 months, even if there's no listings available. This is how to shop a neighborhood that has no listings but might be the right one for you. So check out my description box below. I have a little link that says all my statistical models. Just trades you for a simple email. Even if I already have it, I have my Venice model in there, my Lakewood Ranch model in there, my Sarasota model in there. You can really start to build a picture. This is a great tool to also use with me, right? If you're also talking to me, or you're going to be talking to me, then referencing this tool, clearing some of the data, I'll be happy to walk anyone through it. But this is a way to do a lot of due diligence on your own. If you don't want to just talk to someone and have someone sell you on something, this will let you do the whole thing yourself if you're inclined to do that. So I hope that's helpful. Please reach out if you need anything at all. Email me if you want it. Check out the description box below. Download it directly. And let's move to the next section. All right, next section. Now let's talk what to do, or things to do in Sarasota, Florida. So the low-hanging fruit here is the beaches. This is why a lot of people want to move or end up moving to this area. So again, remember, we're talking about the boundaries that exist within what I'm considering the Sarasota city and county that doesn't include those other areas. There's two main beach areas within that district that are relevant. The first one being Siesta Key. So I've done a lot of deep dives on Siesta Key. Make sure I'll throw some videos up here if you want to get specific in that area. But the way you broadly want to look at this key is this is south of downtown by a few miles. So it's southwest of the mainland. You have three main areas of how the key is set up. You have the northern side of the island with the main Siesta Key Beach and the Siesta Key Village. You have the middle of the island, which is Crescent Beach and the Stickney Point Bridge. There's two bridges, one middle, one north. And then the south part of the island is Turtle Beach. So this beach is basically known for, beyond that variety of beaches, you're known for the quartz white sand that's cool to the touch. And from a feel perspective, you're basically in way more of a beachy, eclectic, tourist type environment. It's very laid back and very beachy in every sense of the word when you think of a beach destination location. The second area I wanted to mention was the part that's a little closer to downtown to the north, which is North Lido Beach and south to mid Longboat Key. So this is northwest of downtown by just a couple miles, what makes downtown so special in the area. And Longboat Key, like I mentioned before, about right in the middle of about 50% of it to the south is in Sarasota County, with the northern part is in Manatee. So a couple differentiators here. You're basically where Siesta Key is a parking lot and this long, expansive amount of sand before the water, so people stack in rows this way and they congregate in one area. Lido Beach is going to be way longer, way more like Pensacola Beach style. You keep driving, you find parking along the way. There's many little accesses and it's shorter from parking lot to water. The sand's not quite as sugary, but a little bit easier in and out, nice kid friendly. I really like the vibe overall. And as you start creeping above St. Armand Circle and above Lido, you get basically the difference between that and Siesta is a little bit more residential feeling, a little bit more private upscale. And Longboat Key is very much characterized by waterfront golf and dining, and you do have many public access points along the way, but it's way, way more private feeling overall. Okay, the other main thing I thought would be worth mentioning is the walking distance areas amongst the city. First up, the obvious one, downtown Sarasota itself. Just 2 to 3 miles from the beach as a total, also directly across the street from the bay, makes this area very unique to Florida, as in most downtown central districts are not also coastal. The feel here, in my opinion, is very unique versus the other downtowns I've been to. It is upscale, it is clean, it is low-key, but also artistic at the same time. You have art galleries, theaters, high-end restaurants, boutiques, and much, much more. The second district I would also consider downtown based is the Southside Village. This is one of the only real residential walking districts in the entire county. The location's unbelievably special. You're west of downtown, in the west of the trail, main heart of the district, behind the hospital, but not quite to the beaches yet. The main characteristic of this place would be waterfront. It's super residential, and it's also in an unbelievable school district. Moreover, you're sitting in this little tiny bubble that's north of Siesta Key and south of Longboat Key, so you're in a pocket that is easy access to downtown to the east and 2 different world-class beaches within 3 to 5 total miles. You have Morton's Market, you have some restaurants, you have boutiques. It's very walkable and pleasant overall. All right, the third one I wanted to mention from a walking district perspective is a new one and a very exciting one called Waterside Place. This one is northeast of downtown. It's in Lakewood Ranch technically, but what Lakewood Ranch did is they built 2 communities below University Parkway, which put this area as the first regime of Sarasota County-based neighborhoods in Lakewood Ranch, where the rest are in Manatee County. So that's how it made the list, and this one's very unique. So all the rest you kind of mentioned are on the beaches, they're downtown. That's very stereotypical of this kind of conversation, but this one is full-on suburban-based. It's 25 minutes from downtown Sarasota, and it's unlike anything else we've seen hit the suburbs. I think it's probably the closest thing we're going to have to a downtown Sarasota in this type of district in a long time. 36-acre peninsula on a mile-long lake, featuring outdoor cafes, live shows, brand new restaurants, and much more. Okay, and the last 2 I wanted to mention are both going back to the beaches. First up, St. Armand Circle. St. Armand Circle is right next to Lido Beach on Lido Key, and it's a very unique kind of figure-8 section place. Features over 130 boutiques, shops, restaurants, and more. This one is also going to be beachy because of its coastal proximity, but is a way more affluent, upscale feel. All right, and lastly, let's talk Siesta Key Village. So Siesta Key Village is your other beach walking district, but in a way more laid-back feel. Here you have over 100 small boutiques, restaurants, wine bars, and other little specialty shops. Just north of the beach, all of this located in a relatively quaint, small district. All right, and lastly, I wanted to do a lightning round style of other key things to do in Sarasota, Florida. First up, the John and Maybelline Ringling Museum of Art. This official state museum of Florida features over 21 galleries of European paintings, as well as antiquities and Asian American and contemporary art. Next, the Selby Botanical Gardens. This 15-acre botanical garden is focused on connecting people with air plants of the world, native nature, and our regional history. Moving on to the Sarasota Opera House. This 1,100-seat historic theater is close to fine restaurants and shops right in the heart of downtown Sarasota. And finally, you have the Moat Marine Aquarium, which is a rehab aquarium for the kids. You have Ed Smith Stadium, which homes the spring training for the Baltimore Orioles. You have Sarasota Jungle Gardens and Nathan Benderson Park. All right, next, let's talk schools and education options. So what I'm going to do here is I want to talk about 4 to 4.5-year-olds and under, and then I'm going to talk about elementary, middle, and high school, public versus charter and private, and then we'll talk some continuing education options. So in the daycare pre-K area, this one, to me, boundaries don't matter quite as much because a lot of this is private, a lot of it's public charter, and a lot of it's locational. You're not stuck to a district for the most part until you get to elementary. So I just wanted to rattle off some known, popular, high-rated ones for the area, and then I can talk about a little bit about the areas themselves. So what you have here on the higher rating side is you have a lot of franchise-based large kind of academies. So you have the Learning Academy, you have the Goddard School, you have La Petite, you have the Kitty Academy, you have Primrose, and you have Bright Star. These would generally all be highly rated. They have different locations amongst town because of the franchise-based model. I do know a lot of people will send their kids kind of the suburb-based, like Lakewood Ranch or South Sarasota for some of these options. And then you have like Imagine School, which goes from pre-K all the way up, and things like these. But this would be kind of the short list of most folks. I have a 4-year-old as well. Most folks that my wife talks to and I talk to and you hear about and stuff, this would be on that short list. But there are a myriad of faith-based schools, a myriad of private church-based schools that don't go above the pre-KK level, but this would be a little bit of the nutshell of where I would start. Okay, now let's get into primary schools. So we're going to stick with the public schools first, and then we're going to work our way up age range. So first, let's talk elementary. So I'm going back to the screen here. I wanted to show you a little bit more context. This does a pretty good job on greater schools of the way to look at the map. So elementary school-wise, you have some pretty solid options that flank almost every part of town from a high rating standpoint if you get in the right district. And that's commonplace for a lot of elementary, a little easier to find nice public school ratings. So you have a few here. I'll just work my way down here. So Southside Elementary is the one that's by the South Southside Walking District, west of the trail. It's in this little pocket. It's an expensive area to live in, but a really, really high, very walkable rated school. And then you have another 10 out of 10 Ashton here, which is south by Bee Ridge, which is a nice option. Gulfgate Elementary is also very highly rated, which is nice here. And then you have a 9 out of 10 Lakeview here. And then you have a Fruitville Elementary as you get closer up to Southern Lakewood Ranch here. Tatum Ridge, which is like the Waterside School District over here. And then the one district that you have to be a little careful with, just depending on if you're just going straight off for ratings here. Nothing else I'm letting influence there, but is north of downtown is where our public school district gets a little rough from a rating standpoint. So downtown's about here, so you have Alta Vista, and then this gets you in Bayhaven. Booker Elementary is lower rated across all levels. Tuttle Elementary is lower rated on here, and then you have Goshio, which is kind of the Booker Middle and High School are either in Goshio or Booker Elementary from a district perspective, but generally a little easier to find here from a public. But generally a pretty overall nice rating of the Sarasota city limits for public elementary schools. Okay, and then when you get to middle school, this is where middle and high is where you start to not have 400 options, right? This one is going to be very, very based on district. You're not going to have 3 for a district. So here they're also not terrible here. So you have your Sarasota Middle, which would be the higher rated one down south there. You have Brookside Middle, that's where I went to middle school, which is a little bit more coastal, but still south of downtown. McIntosh Middle is a 6 out of 10, which is the same rating as a lot of the high schools. And then as you get north, you get Booker again. So you have a 4 out of 10 with the Booker Middle. So again, still pretty solid here, working your way up from elementary to middle. Okay, now let's finish with high schools. So high school wise, you have 2 main options, or 3 main options. And then Suncoast Polytechnical is a magnet school, which is the higher rated one you see here. But the main high schools, when people think of them in here, again, we're not talking Lakewood, not talking Venice. You have Riverview High, which is south. So Riverview High would be the same school district as Brookside Middle, and then possibly Gulfgate Elementary or Philippi Shores. And then right in the middle of downtown, east of the trail, is Sarasota High School. It's a very large high school. That has a 4 out of 10 on here. And then Booker, again, north of downtown, is a 3 out of 10. So your best district in Sarasota city limits, at least for public, would be to go to south to Riverview. Okay, so beyond the public schools, it gets a little confusing with private, but private is where school district no longer matters, right? So I'm not going to belabor this point because we don't have to be stuck just to Sarasota city limits when we talk private, but there's a bunch of faith-based schools, there is private schools, there's prep academies, there is small K-12 schools. You have Imagine in South Sarasota and Lakewood Ranch, that's a K-12. Cardinal Mooney High School, where I went to for part of the time, is a Catholic school. You have Sarasota Christian, where my son goes, which is a K-12. You have St. Stephen's in Bradenton, so you can hop around for sure. So you can hop around for sure, and if you are in a district that you don't favor and you are okay with the tuition costs, which can be steep, then private school is a 100% option to take your kid all the way from pre-K through high school. All right, and lastly, for schools in Sarasota, Florida, I wanted to mention the higher education options. So you wouldn't typically think of Sarasota as a college town, or at least I wouldn't, but you do have some interesting higher education options at your disposal. So you have the New College of Florida. You have the Ringling College of Art and Design, which is a popular school right by the Museum District. You have the USF, University of South Florida's Sarasota campus. All of these actually cluster right in the same area that's coastal, just north of downtown. And then you have a lot of technical schools like Kaiser and other trade-based schools available to you. So it could be interesting if you like your lifestyle in Sarasota. Okay, and the last section I wanted to talk about in our A to Z all-in-one Sarasota guide is business, jobs, economics, and anything else. So with this type of town, I won't think most people are considering this your working class, right? There's some benefits to that. It's very pleasant. There's not as many people, but you have to understand the industries that surround this, right? So if you're not just a work from home remote type of worker, or even if you are, it would be interesting to me to know kind of the economic opportunities available if you need them. So what you're going to have here in this type of town is you're going to have it heavily based on the people that live here. So the main industry is obvious, and that is tourism. And then you also have real estate, you have insurance, you have financial services, you have the stuff that's going to surround the age and the reason that people live here. A large number of the jobs are actually provided by manufacturing, construction, and software development as well. Just for a little bit more context, some of the largest employers to employ in this area are public supermarkets, which is Lakeland based, Tropicana, the citrus producer, which is the Rays Stadium in St. Pete's named after. You have the School Board of Education, which is another big one. You also have a big healthcare presence here with Sarasota Memorial Hospital. You have the new Sarasota Memorial Hospital that's going to be built south, and tons of private medical facilities. And lastly, just to bring a little bit more home, Sarasota has been ranked number 6 overall best metro for standard of living, and in many studies, number 1 best overall small city to live. All right, that's a wrap for our A to Z guide on Sarasota, Florida, our deep dive version. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. Please check out the description box below for any helpful links. That's where the model that I'm giving away for free, but I have 3 to 4 other models right in there as well. Please reach out to me if you need anything at all, and thank you once again for watching. We will see you on the next video.